welcome to another Teacher Talks tonight. Teacher Talks 74. Yes, and tonight we are going to have again another different educators from different parts of the world. And so we are going to have a very special EFL trade teacher, an online teacher trainer, and especially if you haven't had a chance to listen to her podcast, I think you made a really big mistake about it. So you should definitely listen to her podcast, and we are going to talk about it. And yes, and she's a host of Everything EFL podcast, Erin O'Byrne. Yes, we are going to start our live session with her when she comes. Or let me invite her. Invited her. There she is. Yes.
How are you?
Yes. Hello, Erin. It's great to see you here, and I hope I pronounced your surname correctly, O'Byrne.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Okay, wonderful. It's great. I'm happy to do that. All right, because I think, as you mentioned, sometimes people, I think, pronounce wrong your surname, like O'Brien or something like this. But okay, it's good about that. I pronounce it correctly, O'Byrne. All right then. So it's great to see you. And before starting our live session, I would like to say thank you to accept my invitation to Teacher Talk session. It's really great honor to have you here, Erin.
It's an honor. And I just want to say congratulations on your Global Teacher Award. How are you feeling?
Thank you very much. It's a perfect feeling. I can't explain my feelings about it. I'm really, really happy about myself and about my country and about my friends. It's really a big honor to have this precious award. It's kind of worldwide award, the Global Teacher Award, and it's really, I can't explain my feelings about it. It's really big things to have it, and I hope that a lot of teachers from Turkey or other countries will have a chance to get this award in one day or 1 year, because it's really interesting feeling too. I can't explain it, but I'm happy and I'm honored.
Brilliant.
Thank
Well
you very
done.
much. Thank you very much. All right, and I know we are all busy, and so I don't want to take your time, and we have a lot to talk about it. And I'm sure that you have a lot of things to say us, and especially about your experiences, about your suggestions. It's really great. So if you're ready, we can start.
Oh yeah.
All right, then, Erin. I know about you, but maybe our audiences would like to know about you. So that's why, can you tell us about yourself, please, and a bit about your experiences too?
Sure. I'm actually from the UK, but I've taught in Poland. I've taught in the UK. I'm currently in Ireland. I teach in Ireland. I live in Ireland. I've been an assistant director of studies. I've been a junior program manager. I've been a teacher trainer in a roundabout kind of way, and that's kind of what I want to transition into. I want to be a teacher trainer at the end of the day. Yeah, I've worked for like refugees and asylum seekers, for rich French kids, for 70-year-olds. I've done the lot, really. Done the lot.
I see. It's great. Thank you, Erin. I have a question about I have other guests like you before, and they also mentioned about I have taught refugees in their teaching career. So how does it feel it? And is it really difficult to teach refugees, or is it compulsory to teach them the English?
It was in a place in London, and it's called ESOL. It's a little bit different from EFL or ELT. It's a government-run program. and you have a mix of refugees, asylum seekers, and just other non-English nationals who have come over here, and they're taking part in this course, you know, to improve their English. So it's more kind of functional skills, going shopping, that kind of thing. But because you have so much, you've got a lot of trauma in the class, you've got a lot of literacy problems, it's kind of, you're a social worker, you're a teacher, you know, there's a lot more that you're up against. It's very rewarding as well, but very difficult, because just the way it's structured, you get such a mix of abilities. You know, you could have like a 60-year-old Somali woman who can barely hold a pen, and then you've got like a 25-year-old Polish woman with a complete education. And you've got to try and balance that, and it's very, very difficult. Very difficult, but very interesting. Yeah.
I see. Thank you very much. I just want to wonder how is it and how it's going. That's why I asked this question. All right. Yeah. Thank you very much. And my question is next question is about your own education. So what was were your turning point or points in your own education, Erin?
I had a couple. It was both turning points with particular language teachers. I had a lovely French-German teacher who used to use songs and movement and lots of role play, and she was always very joyful and positive in class. So I took a lot of inspiration from her. And then when I did my third year of university, I was in Germany for a year, and I was a teaching assistant. And same thing, there was a teacher, just same kind of thing, lots of songs, lots of joy, and the students absolutely adored her. And I just thought, I want to be that kind of teacher, that I can really reach my students and we can have like a really nice time and create a lot of positivity in the classroom.
I see. Okay. So it's a nice turning point about it. Would you like to add anything else, or can I move another question?
Yeah, no, you can move on.
All right then.
We've got a lot of ground to cover.
All right. And I know that you have a lot of experiences about teaching, but my question is about your philosophy. So what is your philosophy of teaching? I know that this is maybe a really difficult question, but I really wonder, what can you say about it?
Okay, not difficult at all. It is basically like we hear a lot about put the student at the center of the class and all of that, but it's about putting the human at the center of the class, because you kind of, you could make the most amazing lesson plan, but unless your students, that doesn't mean anything unless your students are willing to open up to you and they have the confidence to communicate and do everything you want them to do. So you have to think of your little people as humans. What are their fears? Why aren't they talking? How can I build their confidence? How can I reach everybody? How can I cater for all of those abilities? How can I get them to work together? And it's not until you get to the root of that they're actually going to really effectively learn.
I understand. Thank you very much, Erin. And I know that I would like to move to another point about, especially this is really, I wonder, because I had a couple chance to listen to your, the podcast. They are really great. Everything EFL podcast. I'm sure that if you have a chance, please, you should listen to the podcast. They are really, really good. So how did you start your podcast, and what was your aim about it?
Do you know, to be honest, there wasn't much of an aim at the beginning. I started it with a friend of mine, Shane, and we just started it for a laugh, really. and the first 30 episodes were just me and him, like, messing around and joking and everything. And a lot of things happened last year, and he couldn't really commit to the podcast. So, in one way it was very sad, but on the other hand, it was like, yes, I have full creative control. So I really I just went for it. And I really enjoy the process of recording, of putting my podcast out there. And when you get like a lovely DM from someone saying, oh, I really enjoyed your podcast, it's just amazing. And it's really nice to know that you can connect with people that way. And it starts a dialogue, it starts a conversation with another teacher, which is amazing. But I just want to try and do lots of different things with it. So some of the episodes are like, how can you do this? But other episodes are just all about positivity and inspiration and creativity and things like that. So I try and do loads of different things within the episodes. And I'm really, really proud of it. I'm really proud of it.
It's I really like them, and I'm sure that I really suggest you to listen to the podcast whenever you have a chance. please go and listen to Erin's podcast. They are really good. And I have another question with this podcast. How long does it take to make one podcast for you? A couple hours or just?
That's a great question.
Uh-huh.
A great question. Well, there's the writing process first. If it's a solo episode, there's a lot of writing because I have to have some kind of script. If it's an interview, I just have to come up with a structure with some questions, send them, and then we record. And then you have to edit, which is the worst bit because it's really boring. And then I have to create a little bit of cover art and a little sound bite to advertise it. And I have to write the show notes. And then upload it all. So it's quite a process. There's a lot more than you might think. You know, it's not just sitting down talking and uploading it. There's lots of little bits and pieces there. But it's a creative process. So I really enjoy it. I really enjoy the writing. When I really get into what artists call creative flow. When you get into that creative flow and you're just like on the keyboard, you know, and then you're like, yes, I've got this amazing episode, and it's a great feeling. And I encourage everybody to tap into their creative brain, whatever it may be, because it just brings a lot of joy and a lot of kind of. I think I have this theory that everybody is creative in some way, and definitely teachers have that. You also need a lot of time and headspace to tap into that creativity. And for me, that's what the lockdown was all about. I managed to do that. And I just try and recommend everybody. Someone says, could you write the podcast
name? It's
Everything EFL.
Everything EFL podcast. Let me write everything.
It's also on my bio. If you go to Everything EFL Teacher on Instagram, you'll see the link in the bio as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, creativity, and it's definitely a way to make you happy. Definitely.
I see. Thank you very much, Erin. I'm sure that it takes a lot of time. Maybe because sometimes people think that, oh, this is very easy. You're just preparing a podcast. You just talk. You just ask questions, and that's. But it's not like that. It's really different things. In the background, there are lots of things happening. So before the show start the podcast or share it with the people. All right. Yeah. Thank you. And Erin, as we know that after the COVID-19, we all started, the move from actually we have that online teaching before COVID-19, but after COVID-19 we move, the online education and the distance education, in other term, more and more and more. So my question is about it. What's the best and the worst thing about online teaching?
There are definitely more negatives than positives for me. I've been having really bad issues with my eyes, and nobody else seems to be having these issues, but I've got lots of eye drops and hot iPads and I'm massaging them, and it's getting better. But I find like it's difficult to establish those connections and the community that you need to really get your class going. That takes a long time, and I think it's definitely more draining. For me, it's definitely more draining. The positives, I don't have to commute. I can get out of bed, switch on the computer, and you begin. But I cannot wait to get back to the classroom. I really can't.
I see. I hope as soon as possible you move. Actually, we moved. We are in the classrooms. We don't have online teaching. No, in Turkey we do it like that. It's great. It's really great feeling. It's okay. As you mentioned that there are some positive ways to having teaching online, but the negative sides, I think it's more than the positive sides for me. And
absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, my next question. Would you like to add anything else, or can I move another question?
Yeah, I just want to say hello because a lot of people are joining and saying hello.
Yeah, of course, you can say.
I recognize a couple of names. Hi, Patrick. Hi, Anna.
All right then, hello everybody. But by the way, I just want to remind you that if you have any questions to Erin to ask, please write them into the question part. When you write them into the chat box part, and comment part, maybe we can miss it while we are discussing, or I'm listening to Erin, or you are listening, maybe I miss it. But if you write into the question part, so I can see it and I can direct your questions to Erin. All right? Okay.
I'm ready.
Yes. And again, it's about teaching. So what
Yes.
do you feel are the most challenging aspects of teaching?
That's a really good question, and I think it changes depending on the experience you have. I've been teaching forever now, so for me personally, it's about, again, getting all students to that level of confidence where
Mm-hmm.
they're ready to talk, because we actually have a lot of Japanese students in our
Oh.
school,
Mm-hmm.
and they're fantastic students in that they work hard and everything. Oh, hi Della. But they're extremely timid and they're terrified of making mistakes. But I'm a firm believer that no matter why your student isn't speaking, whether it's fear of making mistakes, whether it's kind of like a fear of being laughed at by your peers,
Uh-huh.
whatever it is, it could have been another bad teacher that they had before. There are so many reasons, but like I think there are some fundamental things that every teacher can do if their students haven't reached that confidence level yet.
I see.
And I was going to kind of answer that in the next question, but I think I'm just going to go for it and
No
talk
problem.
about it. Oh no, we'll wait. We'll wait. Actually, we'll wait.
I
We'll
see.
wait.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
by the way, I will ask another question with related to these questions, but let me ask you this: what aspects about, you said that the aspects of teaching, we mentioned it. What aspects of your teaching have changed by gaining experience in teaching? I'm sure you have a huge experience. So when you
Yeah.
compare it,
Yeah, yeah, it's a big question. Again, I think as you evolve and you get experience, certain things become easier. You don't panic as much. You can adapt very quickly. You can manage your time a bit better. But I think a couple of the biggest things is, again, my shift in perspective about putting humans at the center of the lesson and not students. And also, I think that in EFL, private language schools, we're very much focused on we must teach the language,
mm-hmm.
but we shouldn't forget that we still have a responsibility to make our students better people. We have to open their
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
minds. We have to give them critical thinking skills and that kind of thing. And I've also shifted a lot more towards a more lexical approach, and a more conversational approach, because that's what they ultimately need.
Mm-hmm. I see.
That's what
Yeah,
they
of
need.
course.
And also giving students choice in every way possible. Choice of who to work with. Hi, Gavin M, Gav or
Gavin.
M. And also I've become a lot more open to feedback. So I will always ask my students every week, what did you enjoy? What did you not enjoy? What do you
Mm-hmm.
want to do more of next week? And I'm prepared that not all of it might be positive. That's fine. I can
I
get over
see.
that.
Mm-hmm.
I can take the critique, because that's what it is. We're not always right. We're not. Like a few weeks ago, a perfect example, a few weeks ago, I said, right, everybody, every 20 minutes, we're going to get up, we're going to stretch, we're going to move around, we're going to look away from the screen. And then like a few days later, one of the students actually emailed me and said, look, can we not take as many breaks, because it's breaking our concentration? And I'm like, fine. I didn't give them the choice. So now I say to them, I get up every 20 minutes and I say, look, I'm going to stretch. If you want to, that's fine. If you want to carry on, that's fine.
It's
But
nice.
always give them a choice.
I
Yeah.
see. It's great. Ah, yes, there is someone says here that I can see Norton there. Ah, yes, that's Norton. Yeah, I like that one. You're right. You're right. That's the Norton behind me. That parrot. Okay. Thank you very much, Erin. There are two questions, by the way. Let me.
Okay. Bring it on.
I think it's one question. How can I? Okay. I don't know. Can you see it or not?
Going to teach refugees. Is there a place in Mexico to enroll? I don't know, because in England, they have the government run a program called ESOL, ESOL. And I just answered a job advert and got the job. So you have to see if your government has any kind of programs like that, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. And another question, let me ask you. Huh, here is it. Making students motivated is so challenging. In your idea, make motivational group tasks for the classes. I mean, like, what's your idea about it? I think she wants to ask.
It's a difficult question, and it really depends on your students, but you know your students best, I think.
Mm-hmm.
There are a million activities out there, and I don't think there's any point in going, do this one, do this one. I think it's up to you to find the choice of activities and see what you think will suit your students, or give your students the choice. What do they want to do? You know, so find a few ideas and either give them the choice or kind of predict what you think they will enjoy based on what you know about them. Because really, you should know a lot about your students. You should know what they like, what they don't like, what their interests are, what their preferences are, all of that, you know. So I would say, yeah, just give them a choice of a few things and see what they want to do.
Definitely. I mean, like, I always support that giving choices is really important to the students during the lessons. They need choices, not only one option. You have to give them one or two options, at least two. Anyway, there's another question, Erin, by the way. How can I go UK and be an English teacher besides Celta? That's a very interesting question. Good.
I mean, I think the last time I was in England, which was a long time ago, you had to have, you don't necessarily need a CELTA. I think if you have a teaching qualification from your own country, plus a university degree, you should be able to get work in a language school, I think. But I haven't lived in the UK for like 8 years, so really I don't know if it's changed or not. Yeah.
I see. I see. Thank you very much. And let's move to another question. So the people, as we know that, and the peoples and the other teachers or maybe the students, they always ask you, you have lots of experiences, and can you tell us or give some examples about your good examples? But I'm sure that maybe they never ask. Maybe they ask, maybe you remember about your vice versa. And can you tell us one of your bad teaching experiences in your career?
Oh, so many. I think, oh God, okay. I'm not naming names. I worked for a school in the UK and I was the assistant director of studies, and it was just a horrible place to work. It was a private language school, so the owner's only concern was money. He treated everyone like crap. His motto is everyone is replaceable. So, I mean, what do you do with that, you know? That's just, there was so much going on there that was like, there was just illegal things going on and lots of unprofessional behavior going on. And it was, yeah. And in fact, my two experiences in academic management have both been quite bad, very thankless. Lots of, you get kind of chewed up and spat out, you know, you get overworked and worked and not paid enough. And I just went back to teaching because it's just not worth it as far as I'm concerned. Not worth it at all.
I see.
And I'm not going to say any more on that.
All right then, as you wish, no problem. Whatever you say, Erin. Okay. Do we have any bad teaching experiences, or that's all? Okay then.
Say again?
No, I said, do you have another bad experience, or is that all?
I've got a few, but I want to keep it positive.
Okay.
I want to keep it positive.
Okay, so let's keep it positive. All right. So let's move to another question is about it. Thank you very much, by the way, to share this moment. Okay. And someone says, Meltem Hocam says, we have also such a language school in Turkey too. The owner only concern about money, especially. Yeah, as she said, it's the same, I think, in every country. That kind of places exist. Yeah, definitely. Anyway.
Business.
All right. So I would like to ask another question about speaking this time. So how can the teachers, help their students to overcome their fear of speaking during the lessons? I mean, the students, they have very good at grammatical part, or maybe the reading, or maybe the writing part, but then the time has come to this, the speaking part, they afraid, they have a fear of it. How can they help? How can teachers help them? What is your suggestion?
Oh, so many things. And I actually did an Instagram live about this. You can catch that on my Instagram page. But basically, I think the first thing you guys have to remember is that it's a process, okay? You're not just going to get all of your students magically speaking if they're scared. It's a process like everything else. They have to overcome it. And there are a lot of things you can do, but I think the three most important things that you have to begin with are building their confidence, building trust between yourselves and each other, and building community. Once you have that, you will see a difference. And it might just be more smiles. You might not get through to everyone. You know, you're not Wonder Woman, you're not Superman, you're doing your best. And I do think also that teachers are very hard on themselves. I think that we're constantly beating ourselves up about what we're not doing. But like, if you focus on what you are doing and see the results of just a few students, you've done it, you've done enough. But anyway, so yeah, there are lots of things you can do. So giving your students choice, that makes them feel valued, and it also encourages them to think critically. This one or this one, what should we do? Why should we do it? Find out as much as you can about your students, and then just drop in a conversation. Oh, did you play football on Saturday again? Or, you know, just little casual conversational tidbits, and then also using that information to engage them in future activities as well. Like if you've got a whole class who's football mad, you can use that in your class. You can engage them. Relevance as well is very, very important. You have to make, completely agree, you have to make what you're doing relevant, otherwise they're just going to get bored. What else? Focus on, again, furnish them with phrases that they can use to communicate with each other and you. So it's not just, you know, can I go to the toilet? Not that kind of language. It's, you know, if they're checking their work together, do they have the language to go, are you finished? Can I help you? I'm stuck. I'm not sure about this. I think the answer is this. What do you think? And then on top of that, if you know you have slightly stronger, more confident students, give those students leadership roles. Get them to lead those little feedback sessions. Shall we start? Who's next? And then the weaker students or the shyer students can learn from that as well. So everybody's happy. You're keeping those stronger students a little bit more motivated because you're giving them a task, you're making them feel valued and important, and they're helping the weaker student. Again, what else? I've got lots of little things written down here. Lots of praise. You cannot underestimate the power of praise. So should we give them the day without corrections?
I mean, like, before that, do our error corrections make them frightened, and should give them the day without corrections? But we can.
It depends. Yeah, it depends how you do it. I think you can stay away from the word mistakes. So, like, I tend not to interrupt them as they are speaking, unless you're doing a specific grammar point and you really want them to be correct, you know, maybe then jump in. But I tend to do correction either kind of at the end or maybe like in a little activity at the beginning of the next lesson. And instead of, like, you could have some, you know, sentences with mistakes, and instead of saying correct the mistakes, say, can you make some little changes here? How can we change these sentences? That kind of thing. And another thing to do to help them to be a little bit more accurate, I think also is repetition of the same kinds of questions, definitely at the beginning of the lesson. So always ask them, what did you do yesterday? Or what did you do after class? Because you'll find that they make the same mistakes again and again and again. I went to shopping. Yeah. How many times have you heard that? Or I go to shopping. Yeah. Or I went to home, something like that. And then if you focus on getting them to say those things correctly, because they repeat them, repetition, very important, you'll find that they might get a little bit more confidence that way, because in a few weeks' time, they're speaking a little bit more correctly. I went to shopping. Ah, fantastic, brilliant, well done. You know, again, lots of praise. So it depends how you approach the error correction. Try to stay away from words like mistakes. And I mean, it's your choice, but I tend to do the error correction not during when they're speaking. Make little notes, and focus on the phrases that are the most important conversationally to correct, I would say.
I see. Especially with the speaking part. I mean, if I'm wrong, please correct me. Like the delayed correction is really better, I think, after in taking notes that you mentioned, and give them like give them the feedback after that. I see. All right.
Yeah, because if you're constantly interrupting them, again, that's going to affect their confidence. A lot of them might shut down. So just give them the opportunity to talk, give them loads of praise for trying, especially if you know it's difficult for them, and then the delayed correction. Because there are different ways you can review and recycle, gap fills, error correction sentences. There's lots of little sort of things you can do to address those little issues.
I see. Thank you very much, Erin, for the suggestions about this question. And my next question is, let me tell you something. Your teaching, especially the teaching vocabulary, as you know that it's not easy. Sometimes it's really, really difficult. Like teaching a word to the student, it's really hard. So, for you, what is or are the biggest problem or the problems when teaching vocabulary for you?
I think it's interesting you use the word there. I would never teach a word, single words, first and foremost. As a teacher, you should be teaching phrases. That's really, really important. Yes, phrases or expressions. A lot of students, I think, are under the impression that the more words I learn, the better. I want to learn these 50 words today. No, because you're not going to remember them. Focus on less. Less is more. If you focus on the more important words, the more common words, put them in a phrase, that's where the learning really takes place. And the course books, a lot of the times, teach like one word. So like if you're doing a text and you're looking at words, look at the words around that word. What's the phrase there? How is it used? What's the context? Exactly. Introduce them to collocations. But then, again, you have to put those collocations into something of a more of a wider context.
I see.
Otherwise, you're teaching them 2 words. It has to be a bit more than that.
2 words, yeah.
And again, focus on phrases that are more useful conversationally, and lots of review and recycling.
I see. Thank you. Thank you very much, Erin, for these suggestions about teaching vocabulary. Okay, not words. We teach expressions, phrases, okay, and collocations. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Then. And don't try to teach them 50 words in a day. Just teach them 5 words, and that's more than enough. Less is more, as just someone mentioned. All right, thank you. Okay, so my next question is, next question is interesting, and I really wonder what are you going to say about it. Can you tell us 5 adjectives that describe an effective language teacher?
I mean, let's face it, we need more than 5, but okay. I tried to narrow.
If you want, you can say more than 5, no problem. I just, limited with the 5.
Yeah, I tried to narrow it down. So, compassionate.
Okay, 1, compassionate, all right.
Organized.
2.
This isn't one word, but know your students well.
Okay, number 3 is know your student well.
Community building.
Community building, 4, and the last one.
And passionate.
Passionate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's really nice. Nice adjectives about effective language teachers. Or we can also say that generally, not language teacher or all teachers, we can say that. All right then.
Absolutely.
So, and also, thank you very much for your answer. So let's move to another question. This question is really interesting, and I hope you have an answer for this one because it's a really interesting question. What is the most interesting question you have ever been asked by a student or a teacher in the classroom or webinar or seminar, etc.?
I don't have an answer for you. I'm really sorry. I really can't think, but my memory isn't the best, and I really can't think of an example. So pass.
All right then, no problem. I can accept that. It's a really, really difficult question. Really, I'm sure that. And all right then. So this one also, it's really interesting. Have you ever faced a very difficult? Okay, I'm gonna say again word here, not a word. Let me change into phrase, expressions, or collocation to explain to the students during the lesson. What was it? How did you explain it?
All right. So I think if you're going to have issues, or because you can anticipate also, you can anticipate which words are going to cause problems. That's a whole part of your lesson plan. and be prepared. But do concept checking questions. Not every teacher knows what they are. I'm going to assume that most of you do, but it's basically building a concept around a word or a phrase, gradually, step by step, kind of asking your students questions, usually yes or no questions. So for example, I've got an example here for you. To manage to do something. So for example, she was late, but she managed to get to work on time. And it's actually quite a tough concept, like, because manage can mean a million different things anyway. So you have to be really specific. So my concept checking questions would be, so she missed her bus, but she managed to get to work on time. So did she get to work on time?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
But was it easy? Was it easy?
Yeah, I think yes. No. No.
No.
No, she just did it. Okay.
Okay, so this is the thing as well, like, because sometimes they might give you the wrong answer, and you're like, you're still building the concept. So maybe start again, you know, like, so did she get to work? Yes.
Yes.
Was it easy? No, but she managed to do it. She did it. Okay. And then I would introduce a couple of more examples, but using contexts that are more familiar to your students. So my example is get to work. Now, if your students are 14, not going to mean much to them. So maybe she had a busy weekend, but she managed to finish her homework, you know, so, and then maybe get students to invent their own context that's directly related to their lives. And again, relevance, like make your examples completely relevant to your students. Otherwise, it's just not going to mean much.
I see. Thank you, Erin, about it. It's really interesting. I'm sure that, I mean, like, it's a very good example about it. Thank you. Okay, so let's, Aydan Hocam says elicitation by using body language. Yeah, it's also really.
Yeah, if that is, what's the word? If you can do that, absolutely. Like use anything you can, but there are certain words and phrases where body language isn't going to work, pictures are not going to work, and in the you know, and you have to try and build the concept instead. But like, I think it's perfectly okay at the end to say, well, what's managed to in your language? How would you say that in your language?
And
see if they can reach a consensus as well. There's nothing wrong with that once you've built the concept.
I see. Okay, then. Thank you very much. All right. So let's move. That's what she has just done. I see. Yeah, exactly. Okay, then. And okay, let's move to another question. So if you could have actually one superpower to use in the classroom, what would it be and how would it help you?
So many. Okay, I tried to think of one, and I suppose it would be to make all students confident. Not necessarily the same ability, but just confidence, so that regardless of their ability, they will give it a go. Just eliminating that fear, I think, would be my superpower. Yeah.
I see. They give them confidence, you mean? All
Absolutely,
right,
because that's where you're not going to get much out of them without that.
I see. Great. Okay, so my next question is about again, teaching and learning. So what do you find the most frustrating and rewarding about teaching and learning?
It's a difficult question. At the moment, frustrating teaching online, because like I said, it takes time to build that community and to build that trust, and it's not nowhere near as rewarding. What else? I think, again, what I find rewarding is, like I said, I get a lot of shy students, and when I see them smiling and when I see them like their bodies literally relaxing and just enjoying themselves a little bit more, and that anxiety leaving their body, that's what I find rewarding.
I see.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Erin. All right, so let's move to other and yes, there's something here I missed it. I don't want to miss it. Meaning, making, appropriateness, and cohesive and cohesion are so important in concept building. Yes, Azra, I see. Thank you.
Step by step. I'm definitely going to do an episode on concept checking questions in the future.
All right. Okay, so
I think it's really
we are
useful.
looking forward to listening to him. All right then. Okay, so my another question about the ELT world. If you could make a new rule or law for ELT world, what rule or law, I mean, like, would you make?
Oh, so many.
So many.
Okay. So firstly, I would encourage or no, introduce a law that everything had to be much more lexical. We have to let go of this grammar rules thing that course books have. And sort of what goes with that is I want to forget about the box ticking. This week we have learned tick, tick. We don't learn like that. I mean, I know we have to have structure and we have to have accountability. And you know, that's why we have those syllabuses or syllabi. But it doesn't work like that, does it? It doesn't. Like, we have to, you know, do X by X time. Like, we have to go at the student's pace and we have to follow their interests. The course book shouldn't be at the center of the class. And I know sometimes it creates more work for the teacher when the course book isn't, but it doesn't always work. And I just sometimes I open a course book and my heart just sinks and I'm like, ugh, you know. But again, I give the student, I'm like, read the next couple of pages, tell me what you want to do, tell me what you don't want to do, and we don't do it. And my class at the moment, they're not interested in grammar, like in the traditional sense. I'll touch upon it in a lexical way, but we're not going to sit and study the rules because it doesn't help.
I see.
And I think the other rule I would have is that only nice people with teaching backgrounds would be allowed to open language schools. Because there's just, I don't know about in your country, but in Ireland, the TEFL industry, the ELT industry, it is or was before the pandemic a €1 billion industry. Yet the pay is terrible, the conditions are terrible, the contracts are terrible. And there's no real legislation to protect language teachers. We're kind of like in this little kind of abyss, like we're not teachers. So we, you know, not all of the legislation for teachers in mainstream schools apply to us. So kind of neglected. Yeah.
I understand. I hope they will fix it. Oh, no. Anyway, there are two questions, but I think Aydan Hocam says teaching is supposed to be systematic, but learning is not. She said.
Yeah.
And another, there is a question here. Let me. Do you think that speaking all the time English works to teach or learn English?
Is speaking English all the time good for teaching and learning?
Speaking English all the time works to teach or to learn English? I think that's the question.
If I understand you correctly, I think there is a benefit of speaking English all the time in class, but I do think there is space, if you're in a monolingual classroom, there's definitely space to use your native tongue. I don't see why it's wrong to use translation every now and then, especially if time is a factor or like they're really struggling with an explanation. For learning, do you mean like learning outside the classroom or in the classroom? I'm not sure.
I think that the question that was like that's not my question. So I think it's ask about the learning in or outside the classroom. It's your choice to which one you want to say. Ask. I mean, like explain about it. Let's say it's outside the class. It's really it's really you should speak English if you need to do something. But what's your idea about it?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because if you're like, let's say, you know, you're in Turkey, aren't you? And you know, your students are surrounded by a predominantly Turkish population. If they're a little bit older and they live near a university, they could set up a language exchange where, you know, if there's a native speaker in the university, you could grab a coffee with them, spend half an hour speaking Turkish and half an hour speaking English. When you're younger, I think it's a little bit more complicated, and also again the confidence level isn't always there to do that. But you know, always encourage your students to listen to music, follow that people on social media like actors, actresses, so they're seeing like English text, they can write comments and stuff in English if they like. I mean, there's plenty of stuff. I always say to my students as well, like, you're not just going to learn inside the classroom. That's a small percentage of learning. Like
Exactly.
you're not going to learn spending a couple of hours in a class. It's what you do outside the class that is really going to boost your learning. And obviously speaking is a part of that, but if that's not available to them, then yeah, just try to expose as many aspects of popular culture as you possibly can to your students.
Yeah, they can. All right then. Thank you very much, Erin. Thank you. And there is another question here from Meltem Hocam. What might be your main suggestion to the person who newly starts for teaching English?
Oh, your new suggestion. Oh, that's a tough one. I do actually have an episode called Advice for New Teachers, which will give you a good roundup. But I say lean on your more experienced colleagues. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Steal ideas, but adapt them to your class. Teaching is basically just stealing people's ideas. There is a lot of original stuff, but there also isn't, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with taking something and go, oh, that's good, I'm going to use that. So just lean on the more experienced teachers for help and guidance, and you can never stop learning. You can never ever stop learning.
I see. Thank you, Erin.
Keep your Instagram teaching community as well, because you can learn so much from the community on Instagram. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you. Exactly. All right, I'll do as much as I can. All right, and I'll do my best about it. All right, so I'm sure that you in your career and in your like teaching period, I'm sure that you have read lots of books and lots of things, like about ELT. So what can you suggest us to read about ELT? So if you read this, it can be really nice. If you find time, definitely you should read this. What else you can say about it?
Okay. I actually haven't read a lot, but I'm going to be honest, I haven't. But there is a book called Teaching Lexically, and it's by Hugh Deller and Andrew Walkley, Teaching Lexically. And it just gives you a good starting point on how to introduce a more lexical approach into all the different skills. And I really cannot emphasize enough how important the lexical approach is, I think. So I'm currently, it's not easy. Like, again, everything in life is a process. You're not just going to switch your teaching method like that. And I'm still in the process of taking everything I've learned from that book and applying it. And I'm still not there yet, but I'm trying, and that's what you do. You try different things. You take risks as a teacher. Some things bomb, some things fly. You just have to try and see what happens, So yeah, take risks, guys. Take risks. Push yourselves. Do something different.
I know. All right. Thank you, Erin. Teaching Lexically by Hugh Deller and then
Andrew Walkley.
All right. Okay, then. Thank you very much. And Azra asks, may I know your favorite webinar page or suggestions? Do you follow any webinar or page or?
Not really. I do. I attend one or two webinars, but not that many. I think, I don't know, like, because you spend all your time teaching and prepping, I do find it hard to then spend the energy in my spare time going on webinars. And I commend anyone who's actually like watching this now, because that's exactly what you're doing. You're spending your free time learning, and that's brilliant. There are so many out there. I don't know. I can't answer that question. I'm sorry.
I see. All right. Okay, then. Thank you. No problem. My next question, it can be really interesting. And let's see. I really wonder what are you going to say about it. When you think about it, 5 W's and how. Like who, what, where, when, why, and how. Like, what questions come to your mind about ELT world?
Why are we still using grammar, vocabulary, coursebook type situations?
Okay.
Why are we still looking at grammar rules? Read the rules, do the exercises, produce a sentence. I just don't think it helps, again, because you're looking at that grammar point in isolation. You're not seeing it interact with any other grammar points or anything like that. when will we realize that box ticking isn't effective? That's another question.
All right.
I mean, again, it's tough because institutions need structure. They need a syllabus, but you know, something has to change. What else did I write here? I can't even read my writing. How can we increase our students' confidence? How can we build trust? How can we build community? I think, yeah.
I see. All right. And any more, or that's it?
No, that's it.
That's all. All right then. Thank you very much. They're really nice one. Nice questions about the LD world. Great. Okay, so my next question is about the future. All right. So what do you think are the key skills we will need in the future? This is really important, I think, as after COVID-19, especially.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. I think that online learning will become a more permanent fixture. I think that a lot of schools will just offer that option now, alongside face-to-face teaching. But again, you know, there are lots of sort of webinars and tips about how to use Zoom, what tech tools to use and all this. But again, we should be focusing on what skills do we need to connect with our students? How can we build community online? How can we establish trust online? You know, I think, again, it all comes down to those three sort of concepts. And I think we definitely need to explore that more if we're going to continue online.
Nice.
And key skills, again, I'm going to go back to the lexical approach. I just think more course books and more schools need to embrace that approach and do some research into it and figure out how you can establish and implement it into a syllabus, if you like.
I got it. They're really important. Thank you very much, Erin, for your suggestions about the skills. Okay, and I'm sure that you have lots of websites to look, or like maybe the kind of like softwares to use to teach English. So what are your favorite 3 websites, or maybe you can the application to suggest to use in teaching?
Okay. The first one would be, I think ISL Collective is really nice, because what I like about it is everything is in Word format, so you can adapt your worksheet, which I think is essential, because again, it's not one size fits all. Look at your class, look at the examples and the contexts on the worksheet. Are they suitable? No, change it. There are also a couple of mistakes, so you do have to be careful and check everything. You might have to make changes to the format to make it look a bit nicer, but that's really useful. The other one is YouTube, especially for higher levels. Like, there's just so much on there, on there.
I see.
That you can use, and again, like, follow your students' interests, and they can use it for homework as well. You know, find something on YouTube, summarize it. What did you find? What did you find interesting? Exactly. And the other thing is actually Instagram, because I started my Instagram last year, and it's just so brilliant for for a community. And I think that everybody needs community, regardless of where they are in life, what they're doing. And like I said, teachers are very hard on themselves. They're very, you know, am I doing enough? I'm not doing enough. And I think if you have community, it makes you realize you are enough. There are some amazing teachers out there who you can get inspired by. You can make connections with, you know, and this is for teachers, rather than thinking about yourselves rather than thinking about your students. Instagram is brilliant for that, I think. I see.
Totally agree.
Especially like lockdown at the beginning of this year, you know, I was having a hard time. I missed my family. I was quite isolated, but the Instagram community really picked me up. It really helped. It really, really helped.
I see.
Yeah, and I suppose the other one is listen to everything EFL podcast.
Exactly. Why not? Yeah, great one. I was expecting from you to say that my podcast channel. You should definitely. Yeah. Okay, definitely. All right then. Thank you, Erin. Okay, so Are you ready for the last question? Time flies, Erin. You know, it's
It
really,
does.
really great.
It
Exactly.
does.
And we have really nice comments about you. Yeah, under it. If you have a chance to read it, they're wonderful. Thank you very much about it. Okay, ready for the last and the hardest question? Yeah. What is your motto?
I don't think this is hard at all. I answered this one immediately when I was making notes. I've said it before, but like put the human, not the student, at the center of the learning experience. And then if you do that, you will see a little shift in your perspective. You'll see things a little bit differently.
I see. All right.
Yeah.
Put the human, not the students, in center. All right then.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much again. Okay then. And that's all my questions, Erin. And you know, before ending our excellent sessions tonight, would you like to add anything else, Erin?
Yeah, if you would like to connect with me, guys, because I'm all about connecting with teachers. I think it's so important, and we can learn so much from each other. You can find me on Instagram at Everything EFL Teacher, and the link to my podcast, Everything EFL, is in the bio. I'd love you to listen and give me some feedback. Connect with me, DM me, let's have a conversation. I also I post some video content on there. I also have a private Facebook group called Everything EFL Teacher Development, and I post the videos, but also a little bit more content on there. I've started posting content questions so that we can actually engage with each other. So some of them are polls, some of them are just exploring different teaching concepts together, and everyone can brainstorm their ideas and make comments. And yeah, it's starting to take off, and more people are joining, and it's fantastic. So yeah, thank you so much for having me, Volkan. I've had a fantastic time.
It's great. I'm sure we all had a great time here with you, and thank you. I would like to say one more time, thank you, Erin, and for your precious time, suggestions, and ideas. And thank you. That was really great, and we're really honored to have you here. And all right then. And would you also please create private group at Instagram? Well, you mean
I don't know if you can do that.
Ah, I see.
I don't know.
Okay, maybe we will see.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. All right then. And tonight, Erin O'Byrne was with us in Teacher Talk 74, and she spent her precious time and suggestions and everything with us. That was fantastic and fruitful sessions. I'm sure that you had a great time, just like me. And that's
all.
Thank
you for listening, guys.
Yeah, great. And thank you very much, all the people who listened to us here. And I'm sure that you had a nice time, like me. That's all from Teacher Talks tonight. And we will see each other next week on Monday at 9 p.m. Turkish time, of course. And that's all. And until that time, take care of yourselves and enjoy your day. And peace, everybody. And peace, Erin. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.